Hi everybody, Professor Ball here. How's it going? So you just reviewed the sample student essays that I posted for you on Canvas, and I wanted to just give you some brief comments on how I looked at the essays. The first thing I wanted to talk about was the LeBron James essay. I think this is probably the best one of the group because it covers the prompt more so than the others. We have ethos right there. We have pathos. We have logos. And we have kairos, so that's great. You need to cover all four of those, which reminds me, some people are having a problem with kairos. And one thing to think about as you're going through the person's different social media pages is, where do they say something about what is happening right now, either in their world or the world around them? If they're commenting on, like if it was today and somebody said something about the World Cup or detention centers on the border or volcanic eruptions in Hawaii, if they're talking about it as it's happening, that is kairos. So the LeBron James essay is good for that. You may think it's a little wordy, and that's okay, that's your opinion. And then the last part is the effective rhetorical choices. So what I mean by that, and I went over this on the other video, is what do they do well and what should they not necessarily change, but really think about. You know, the beauty of this country is you're allowed to say and do what you want as long as you're prepared for the consequences. So are there times when somebody is racist or homophobic or rude and they lose followers or they lose fans or people stop going to their movies or they're criticized? That would be something that the person would need to do to be more effective online. So this one's the best. What I also wanted to point out is what this person does is they don't just jump in with LeBron James is on Facebook. This is what we would call background or context. They're introducing the subject matter, social media, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and so on. And then it's like an inverted triangle because as they start from the top, they get a little more narrow. And then you have your thesis statement. Now, it's nicer if it's a little more explicit, like he incorporates ethos, logos, pathos, and kairos, but this is okay. So this one's the best one. The other thing I want to point out is he does, or he or she, it's Ima, he or she does a pretty good job of working with the quotations. And you have a handout that we looked at called Avoiding Hit and Run Quotations. And when you have a hit and run quotation, it means you don't introduce a quote and you don't tell me why you're using it. So this is an example of quotations done well, pretty well. On a touching video promoting Goodyear tires, James commends the company by saying, it's very humbling being a kid from Akron. You never think you get the opportunity to be around successful people like this. It means a lot to me. When you grow up in the Midwest, nothing is given to us. Everything is kind of earned. You don't need this, just so you know. Just saying a touching video on Facebook, because that's not correct. But what you have is he doesn't just have a quotation. He introduces a quotation. And then what the person does is he tells us why he's using the quotation. James is using pathos to depict himself as a modest figure and hard worker who had to earn everything. He's attempting to make the audience feel a certain way. So you have your top piece of bread, then you have your filling, and then you have your bottom piece of bread. The other thing that I wanted to point out is the format on this is perfect. What you'll see from the handout when you go to the paper one prompt, there's a little more involved with more than just Facebook, facebook.com. You need to include the words that the person stated, but this looks pretty good. The Bernie Sanders essay is okay. There's not a whole lot of background or context, and if you go to the Purdue OWL, you can look at introductions, and it goes more into that. But there is a thesis statement through rhetorical concepts. And so there's ethos or credibility. There's pathos, which is emotion. That could be happy or sad. And then there's kairos. So if I'm not mistaken, this student forgot about logos. So let's see. Okay, that's a Jennifer Lopez one. There's no logos in here. So logos would be logic or reason. Oftentimes logos is like data or statistics, so keep that in mind. The other thing that I wanted to point out is this is what I mean by pi paragraphs. Ethos is used all throughout Sanders' Twitter file. This is his point. This is his illustration. And then this is why it's important or why it's interesting. This is the explanation. This not only allows his followers to explore more into him, but also provides a second verified website in order to assure readers that this indeed is a legitimate Senator Sanders. So he does it again, the student does it again with, pathos would be the most used rhetorical concept on Senator Sanders' Twitter profile. This is his point. This tweet about the veterans. And let's see, what is this? The killing of Philando Castile. And then this is your point. This is your illustration. And why is he telling me this? Well, these tweets shine a light on his empathy he has towards the African American community. So, and then Kairos. So this one is pretty good. It's missing two things. It's missing logos and what could he do to improve his presence online? Should he stop talking about one thing or start talking about more about another? And then the works cited page is not quite right because it's not giving me the individual tweets or Instagram posts, and this needs to be on its own page. Now, sadly, the weakest essay is the Jennifer Lopez one. This is fine. This is background. This is context. And the person gets a little more specific here, but they don't offer us a thesis statement as to what it is the paper is going to be about. The other two essays mention, well, they use these rhetorical concepts. This person doesn't do that. And oftentimes what I'll do if I see that, I will go down to the conclusion and see if there is a semblance of a thesis statement here, and there really isn't, because she's talking about, he or she is talking about how Jennifer Lopez uses social media to keep in touch with her fans, and it's positive and negative, but this doesn't reflect what the paper's about either. You want to mention something about these rhetorical strategies. So she does talk about logos, but there's no quotations. She does talk about pathos, but there's no quotations. And which one's this? Ethos. She talks about ethos, but there's no quotations. So she's missing quotations, and she's missing kairos. And so this one doesn't quite respond to the prompt, especially since there's no quotations. And quotations would mean, you know, including tweets, including posts from Facebook, including the wording from her Instagram feed. And this is not correct at all. And just as a reminder, when you go to the prompt, everything you need is there for you when you are doing your paper. This is right class, wrong class. Bear with me for a second. So we are in English 114, sorry. And then go to modules. And then when you go to paper 1, the prompt is here. This is how you avoid making your paper sound like a biography. Some people are worried about that. And the best way to do that is to make sure each of your paragraphs has a point. So-and-so uses ethos. So-and-so uses pathos. That's your point. How to use your quotations is here. Some people are concerned about MLA format. You just click on this and you start typing. And I've given you some other links. I've told you how to do MLA formatting your works cited page. And here's something on how to do a creative title. All right. So there is that. Plus, if you recall, there is the video that I posted for you under module 3. Let's see. Under week 2. It's here. You know it's here. I don't see it at the moment. Oh, how to complete paper 1. If you go through this video, I go into everything in detail, going over the prompt and then the nuts and bolts of like getting started, MLA format, that other fun stuff. So there you go. Let me know if you have any questions, and good luck on paper 1. Thanks.